Okay. Hello, my name is Charlotte Brown, and I would like to welcome you to FIT. I teach English as a second language courses in the Educational Skills Department, as well as run FIT's various ESL programs. I'm going to talk to you about strategies for academic success. The topics I plan to cover are what to expect in your classrooms, academic integrity, placement testing for English and math courses, and academic resources that are available to you. So you'll find that the classroom experiences at FIT may vary depending on the subject matter and/or the professor's teaching style. Some of these experiences may be very similar to what you know from your own country, while others may be very different. These two images show a traditional classroom with the instructor in front and the students sitting in rows. In the second one, you can see a student raising his hand, maybe to answer a question, maybe to ask a question, or maybe to give an opinion. These two photos also show a type of classroom often seen in American schools. In number 3, you can see the students sitting in a circle with the professor in front. The professor is probably leading the students in a discussion and maybe doing a bit of lecturing. The idea of the circle is that the students can see each other so that when they contribute to the discussion, they can speak to the entire class and not just to the instructor. One thing that may surprise you is to see the professor sitting on his desk rather than in a chair. I know this would not be appropriate in some cultures, but it is acceptable in the US in some settings. Not all professors do this, of course, but one might do it as a way to convey a sense of informality. However, an informal atmosphere does not mean the course should not be taken seriously. It should. The fourth photo shows students working in small groups. You will see this format in many different classes and subjects because group work fosters collaboration, enables multiple perspectives to emerge, and builds a sense of community in the classroom. So what do your professors expect from you? First is active participation, which means asking and answering questions, offering opinions, and responding to texts and other materials. Some courses will require more active participation than others. It depends on the subject matter and the professor, but usually the professors base a part of the students' final grades for the course on participation. Related to that is student engagement. In other words, professors expect students to pay attention by being active listeners and not using or checking cell phones during class. Professors also expect students' work to be original, whether it is artwork or text-based. If students use other people's works or ideas, credit must be given through proper citation. In other words, professors expect students to follow FIT's academic code of honor, which I'll discuss a little more later when I get to academic integrity. The fourth expectation is that assignments are handed in on time. Some professors will lower the grade of the assignment if it is late. Should you have difficulty meeting a deadline, it is a good idea to let the professor know and the reason why. Arriving to class on time, whether it is face-to-face or online, is important out of respect to the professors and your fellow students. Late arrivals can be very disruptive. This applies to returning from breaks as well. By the same token, students should not leave classes early, but rather wait until the professor dismisses the class. And last but not least, professors expect students to treat them and other students in the class with respect. I would just like to reiterate that an informal teaching style does not give anyone permission to be disrespectful. All of these expectations apply both face-to-face and remote or online classes. What can students expect from professors? Students, of course, are entitled to have certain expectations from their professors. First, professors are supposed to provide a course syllabus that contains details about the course and what will be achieved, important dates, grading policies, attendance policy, and more. Secondly, students can expect professors to answer their questions and be available for help and consultations. I would add that if you're struggling with a course, you should be proactive and seek help earlier rather than waiting too long. Students should also expect the professors to treat them and their classmates fairly and with respect. As I mentioned before, some international students may be surprised by a level of informality in the classroom that they've not experienced before. However, this does not mean that the course is not important. It is. Lastly, students should expect professors to start and end the class on time. Again, all these expectations apply both face-to-face and remote or online classrooms. I've provided links to videos of a couple professors' classes. You can watch them at your own time, and I would suggest watching them for just a few minutes so you can see how the professors call on students for answers and opinions, and how the atmosphere in these classrooms was serious and yet respectful, though it was informal. So now I'd like to introduce Dean Deirdre Sato, who will talk about studio critiques, which is yet another kind of class you might encounter.
Hello, as Professor Brown introduced me, my name is Deirdre Sato. I'm Dean for International Education, and I'm here to talk to you about the critique. So what is a critique? It's an integral part of the educational process in creative classrooms such as fine art, illustration, fashion design, filmmaking, or technical design, to name a few. A critique is included in many studio class meetings, maybe even every class session. Each class and professor uses critiques differently. A critique is an opportunity for students to present their work for an assignment. Critiques take several forms. Students may be asked to discuss their project individually with their professor, or they may present their work to the whole class, which is called a group critique. Even if there are not a lot of critiques in a particular class, at the end of the semester, there is generally a critique of final projects. Since critiques are such an important part of the creative and studio classes, I wanted to take a few minutes to discuss what you might encounter in a critique and what your professor may expect of you. It's really important to understand what is expected of you in the project or assignment, so be sure to review the course syllabus before going to class. Take notes on your professor's explanation of the assignment or project. Ask as many questions as needed, as Professor Brown has mentioned, for you to fully understand what you need to do for the homework. Pay attention to key words. Look up any confusing or new words so you can build your technical and art vocabulary. For example, if you're going to learn about mass and volume during the next class, make sure you know the definitions of those words before going to class. Establish good communication with your professors. Ask questions. FIT has many international students. Your professors are familiar with many of the educational differences and challenges that international students face. If you talk to your teachers, you may be surprised at how helpful they are. They can only help you, however, if you talk to them, so don't be afraid. You can contact your professors outside of class as well. Write notes for yourself before a critique. Get an index card, I know that's kind of old school, or use your phone to write down the important things you want to say about your assignment, such as your thoughts or feelings about your project, your source of inspiration before or during creation, the materials used, or your choice of subject matter. It's important to write your notes in English, not your native language, so that you're not translating as you go. Bring an example of your inspiration for your assignment. Some students have found it helpful to bring the object, music, photo, picture, article, or whatever item that gave them inspiration for their project. It's also sometimes easier to talk about an assignment with something to refer to. Be sure to participate in your critique and that of others if your class is having a group critique. What you have to say is important. Remember that. So ask questions and make constructive comments. Participation in class is probably part of your grade, so making thoughtful comments is very important. And lastly, don't take criticism personally. It's not you who's being critiqued, it's your work, and everyone else's too. Be kind, thoughtful, and respectful when giving or receiving criticism. So why is knowing about a critique important? Because it's an integral part of a creative or studio classroom in the United States. The critique is part of the American form of art and design education and might be different from what you experienced in your home country. So I hope this information prepares you to fully engage in the critique process. A document with tips on how to get the most out of the studio critique is attached to the PowerPoint for your review. Good luck.
Thank you. So what do you do if you're having issues with a professor? Unfortunately, it does happen from time to time. There are a few steps you can follow if you find yourself in this situation. Step 1 is to try to talk to the professor after class or during his or her office hours. Sometimes these issues are the result of a misunderstanding and can be cleared up. A good strategy is to use language that is not aggressive or personalized. So helpful phrases might be something like, I'm having trouble with whatever. I'm unclear about my grade on this assignment. I thought I had done better. Could you explain why I earned the grade that I did? I was a little offended by a remark made in class when someone said whatever. If nothing's achieved by following the first step, the second step is to contact the department chairperson by email or make an appointment to meet with him or her. You should be able to find the name of the chairperson on the FIT website. The third step is to contact the dean of the school in which the course is offered. This is in the event that the first two steps do not achieve results. Again, you can find the name of the dean on the FIT website. So earlier I mentioned the importance of students submitting original work or being sure to cite properly when they use someone else's ideas. When a student uses someone else's words, ideas, or work and passes it off as his own, is called plagiarism and is considered being dishonest. Plagiarism is taken seriously in American higher education. So here's a dictionary definition of plagiarism: the act of using someone else's words, ideas, or work and pretending they're your own. Pretty standard definition. And it can occur not only in writing, but also in business and design. Due to the time limitations here, I will not go into an explanation about what plagiarism is and isn't, but will direct you to some sources. The first one is FIT's Writing and Speaking Studio. You can make an appointment with a peer tutor or consultant there, face-to-face or online, and get help in recognizing and avoiding plagiarism in a particular assignment. And then here are a couple links to other universities' writing centers' websites. And these websites contain a lot of information about plagiarism and citation and are very good and helpful sources. And lastly is a link to FIT's Academic Code of Honor, and it talks a little bit about what can happen if a student is caught plagiarizing. So you might want to take a look at that at your earliest convenience. And I would just say, if you're not sure, just be proactive and ask, particularly going to the writing studio is a good place to go because it's right there on campus. The next thing I'd like to mention are the FIT placement tests. And And the results are used to determine which English and math course you need to take first. You probably have already received information regarding the placement tests, and I know many of you have already taken the placement tests and received the results, so you know where you need to begin your sequence of English and math courses. And I know some of you are exempt from the placement test because of SAT or ACT scores that you might have submitted or transfer credit you might have. Anyway, if you need to take the placement test, they're being offered remotely, and the link to make the appointment is here at the bottom of the slide. If you have questions about whether or not you need to take the placement tests, you can contact the Academic Advisement Center or the Office of the Dean of Liberal Arts. And you'll see the contact information for both those departments a little bit later on in this presentation. So now I'd like to just point out a few places on campus that provide academic services and support to students. As I mentioned before, there's the Writing and Speaking Studio. Here students can make an appointment to get help with writing and or speaking assignments for any course in any discipline. This is not limited to English courses only. Secondly is the Academic Skills Tutoring Center, which provides free tutoring services for most credit-bearing courses. So if you need help with any course, you can make an appointment with a tutor. In both cases, be proactive and don't wait until the last minute. Sometimes it takes a little time to get an appointment. Thirdly, there's the Academic Advisement Center, where you can get advice on which courses to take and check to make sure you're meeting all of your degree requirements. And finally, there's the Career and Internship Office, which can assist you with your resume, cover letter, and interview skills, as well as help you find internships. This link down here will take you to FIT's websites where you'll see hot links to all of these resources. And then there are just a few more resources and go-to places I'd like to mention. If you have questions about your major, the best thing to do is to talk to someone in your department. Then there is, of course, the FIT library, which I'm sure you'll use often. In addition to its rich collection of books, images, journals, and so on, it also has many guides and services to help students. So it's worth your time poking around the website to see what it offers. And lastly, I just want to bring your attention to the Fitable office, which provides supports for students with any kind of disability, be it physical or learning disability, such as dyslexia or ADHD. This office will work with students and faculty to make sure students receive the appropriate accommodations when needed. So I know we've given you a lot of information today, more than you can possibly absorb at once. The one piece of advice I want to emphasize, though, is that you ask whenever you have questions. Here are a few offices that might be able to answer your questions. Your department major, the Educational Skills Department, we can answer questions about English as a second language courses and English placement tests, and there's the my contact information, and the Office of Dean of Liberal Arts. So I hope you have a wonderful semester, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.